Hey.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm going to be totally honest and put this out there because I think it'd actually be quite funny for people out there watching. This is our second time through of trying to do this. Definite error on my part, but we've made it around to round two. So thank you very much for coming back for one.
No problem. So good we did it twice.
I know, it was that good. So for everyone out there, who are you playing for, and what are you doing right now?
My name's Rose Thomas. I'm an international hockey goalkeeper. I'm number one goalkeeper for senior Wales women's team, and also I play my club hockey at Holcombe. And I'm also a full-time recruitment consultant.
Very nice. So how did you get into hockey?
Yeah, so in a forceful manner, I would say. When I was in year 7 at school, I had no interest in hockey at all. I didn't have much history with it either, so my family never played it. And my PE teacher came up to me and asked me to get involved with some after-school hockey. I instantly refused. I said it was a silly sport, even though I didn't know anything about it. And then she said to me that if I didn't come and play hockey, she'd put me in detention and make me play.
That is savage. That is so savage.
So she put me straight in goalkeeping kit.
Actually,
put me in a football goal, 3 drills at the same time, shooting drills, and said, save the ball. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, bit of a baptism of fire, but I loved every minute of it. I got into it I got the bug really quickly, really early, and I had a lot of football background, so I think it was more, I played outfield in football. I think you could see that I could use my feet. It was relatively coordinated. I think it helps with the game, understanding the game as well on a left and a side point of view. So I didn't even hold a hockey stick for a couple of months. I didn't even know a goalie needed one.
Whoa.
So a good foundation to use your feet, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. There are so many keepers. Like, I came from a football background and got involved that way. I know, so quite a number of goalkeepers have kind of football backgrounds and then end up being hockey goalkeepers. I think the coordination bit helps, and the kicking helps quite a bit. And I love the fact that you got into hockey kind of not a very traditional route, but more arm barring to get you in. Whereas, and from my aspect, I turn up to what I thought was football training and was hockey. So I kind of the different. Yeah, definitely
strong admin skills there.
Yeah, doing really well here. That was definitely a weird moment. I turned over, I was like, what is going on here? So, and also I love the fact that you got there a different route instead of, my parents played and kind of got in through it that way. So you say you're full-time in work, you're playing first choice for Wales, you're playing Premiership for Holcombe. What does your normal week look like? Because obviously there's going to be a lot of time constraints and commitments and everything else.
Yeah.
What does your normal week look like, and how do you balance that?
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, I've been playing for Wales since I was 13, so it is my normal in terms of being able to kind of juggle that. And there's lots of people who do a lot of sports within that. You know, the rest of the Welsh team, men and the women, they're either in full-time education or they're in full-time work. So it's not unique in that respect. But in season, probably 2 conditioning sessions on a strength and conditioning point of view, then do 2 club training sessions and a match on the weekend. And that's kind of shoehorned in around before or after work, or if you're lucky enough, I personally live my gym's really close to my work, so I can also kind of put maybe a longer lunch in and kind of sneak out to the gym for a little while. So that's helpful as well.
Nice. And you say obviously you've been playing for Wales since you were 13, and you're used to balancing and like juggling commitments. I think that ties in really well to like the last podcast when I was speaking to a couple of the EDP guys in terms of like how important life balance is. And it's not always like phoning to say, oh, I just can't do it. I'm feeling a bit tired, a bit achy. I don't feel like doing it today. Like,
yeah,
if you want to be a senior international, you've got to put the yards in. Like, how important then is kind of the communication, everything from your side? Obviously, when growing up, having to speak to like coaches and teachers and parents and everything else, and now obviously you're having to deal with employers. Like, what are this kind of skills in place and the kind of things that you recommend to guys going through this, and maybe they're early in this at the moment? Like, what would you recommend?
I think it's taking real control of the kind of life admin yourself. I think, I was going away at quite a young age. I think my first trip away was when I was 13. And even from then, my parents were really strong on me taking control of that and understanding what my weeks look like, where I'm going, where I need to go. I mean, they were wonderful taxi drivers, but I had to drive. I had to drive that, initiate that. I think that it's best that you're really open and honest as well with what's going on. It's really helpful now with the program. We get the dates a lot earlier, so that we can actually plan in advance, have conversations with employers, flag any potential issues, whether there's therefore flexibility in the program or there's flexibility with employers, or on the other side for some of the guys, like you spoke about in the last podcast around university side of things. I think best thing is, you need to be able to be hot on your own diary. You need to have those organizational skills, but also it's always best to have really open and honest conversations. If there is an issue, go and talk to your coaches, go and talk to your teachers. If you're young, if you're struggling with things like school work, or whether that's the workload, then it's just always being open and honest about that. I mean, you're naturally hardworking individuals to be able to juggle all this. So, as long as you kind of get your head down when you can. But the other side of it is that you're just making sure you're having those conversations with people.
Yeah, and I think that was the kind of the key take home from the previous podcast as well. And I think the other thing, and like I kind of alluded to as well, though, like, you're not going to get there if you don't do those yards. Like, if you don't do the extra sessions and we had a really good chat before in terms of like, is it a sacrifice or is it's a choice? Like, it's a choice that you want to be a senior international athlete, and actually that means you're going to be tired and achy and everything else, but that's kind of something you've got to go through. Obviously you were involved with the centralized program at GB for a little bit, and which is really cool. How does that then, what would you say are the main kind of differences between being a full-time centralized athlete versus being an athlete where you're effectively kind of self-funding a little bit and you're working at the same time as being a senior internationally, going to world events and everything else? What would you say the kind of the differences are, and kind of the pros and cons of each?
Yeah, I think being part of the program was brilliant. I was part for nearly 2 years, and on a part-time basis. So I was in Mondays and Tuesdays, and as you've had a chat with the guys before in terms of how the weeks look, and they did then still in terms of having a Wednesday off. So it was almost, they were kind of in 4 days of that week. So I would be involved in the gym session on a Monday and the pitch session, and then double pitch on that Tuesday. And then outside of that would continue that individual training of strength and conditioning as well. I think in aspects it's easier when you're turning up to a great facility and you're training with like-minded individuals who are competitive and driven and do the same goal. Those sessions were grueling. They were much more challenging, but I found it a lot easier to be in that kind of environment. Then on the flip side of that, when you're in full-time work and you're fitting around your own diary and you're out there training by yourself, that can be a little bit more challenging to have the motivation to do that. So when you get into do with your team, it's brilliant. On the other side of things, obviously, there was a lot more pitch time that I was able to access through GB, and a lot higher intensity of that, which I've thoroughly enjoyed, as well as, all goalkeepers love their extra training. They love that extra attention. So
not that we're needy or
that was
anything as
fantastic.
goalkeepers, but
Oh no, not at
never
all. We
needy.
always like to think we're special. Yeah,
Goalkeepers are amazing people. I mean, there's a brand about it.
I
So,
have heard that once or twice. Yeah, yeah. So that side of things was really good as well. But yeah, again, on top of that, you're lucky enough to be supported through National Lottery funding. And that was for part of my week, which allowed me to then make sure I could focus on that. And the other part of my week, I would just work on those days that I was off, rather than worrying too much about that. But actually, on a part-time basis, I thought it was fantastic because it provided balance. And I know you kind of touched on that with the full-time lads that were on before, but I think that's really important to be able to have that element of distraction, and also kind of perspective and normality. But then, looking on the Welsh side of things, where we get our contact time where we can, really, weekends together in Cardiff, on the pitch wherever possible, kind of working around the club system and using the club system to help support us. So it's just different in terms of different challenges around difficulties with timing sometimes, but also sometimes a little bit easier with when you've got like-minded people around you.
Yeah. And so how often are you training with Wales as a whole group, where you get the whole squad together? Like how often, how many times, like a month, a year, like would you say you get together?
It honestly depends on what we have coming up that year, and also the time of year it is. So like I said earlier, we heavily rely on the club system to support us. So we don't like to interrupt that season. So pre-Christmas, we kind of September to Christmas, we tend to just do those Sunday, Monday camps and take annual leave wherever possible within the squad on a Monday. And that's probably once a month or so. And then we have a big trip out in January together. It's a good period of a break within the season, and also a lot of people's annual leave falls kindly to that. And then after that, we'll just kind of increase that contact time. So whether that starts to become more once a month, a couple of times a month, particularly as we ramp up to our test series, our warm-up matches, as we go towards whether we've got a Europeans or a Commonwealth Games or a major home tournament. That does tend to depend.
Yeah, and you guys did a trip this year to France, didn't you? Which was seemed like a really cool trip, in terms of not only, I say a cool trip like it was a bit of a jolly and a holiday. I'm sure it wasn't that at all, but it seemed like a really decent trip in terms of making some really good games as a squad against a decent opposition. So I guess the more opportunities you get to go on those like test series camps and everything else must make a huge difference to the squad.
It definitely does, and I think that's something that we've done a lot better as Hockey Wales over the last few years, around increasing that contact time and increasing those tournaments, which, there's nothing better than that match play and being able to be put in those pressure environments. That's something you just can't replicate in training, and you need to be put under those kind of situations. Now, additionally, with the new rules with the FIH, where capped matches now are associated with ranking points, and every capped game that you play matters, and it's not just about tournament game, which allows countries like Wales to be able to accumulate more points, which is fantastic, but also it's another level of level of pressure. And while we were in France, that was our first exposure to that, and we did very well under those circumstances. I'm really pleased with how we've come along.
Yeah, and saying about how you've come along, that how far Hockey Wales has come over the last 6-7 years or so is pretty massive. And actually you can see that in the results, and in how well the women and the men are doing. Like, what would you say has been kind of the main kind of contributing factors in kind of that development of Hockey Wales as a nation at senior level?
Yeah, because I think, like you said, it's been fantastic. I mean, with the men, with the A division, how well they did in their Euros. If we look at those individuals having 2 female and 2 male Welsh athletes in the GB setup as well, that shows that growth there. And that wasn't the case a few years ago. So I think that we've not only developed on the senior side, where we've increased our contact time, we've been a little bit more intelligent around how we schedule that. Like I said before, around increasing the match play and the tournaments there, but also the additional side of things with the psychology. Our strength conditioning program is very good. We're accessing video analysis. We're looking at more remote support as well, where we can take those additional gains. But then also that's filtered through to the youth side, and Hockey Wales have done a great job of, you know, the creation of the 360 centres, getting in quality coaches, being able to have that development and working that through. But then also kind of establishing some long-term relationships with nations, which means that we can continue to push all the way across throughout a cycle, rather than kind of having ad hoc visits and ad hoc matches.
You talk about kind of the remote access and the remote contact time. I mean, now more than ever, like remote contact is like so important. And you say about the other aspects, so the video, the strength and conditioning, and the psychology. Like, I guess the psychologist is going to be working pretty hard right now with you guys in terms of making sure that you're all mentally like in really good shape, as well as the S&C guys probably wanting you guys to utilize this time to be in really good physical shape. What would you say from those? What are those two guys in particular, the psychologists and the conditioning coaches? What are they saying to you guys in this period where none of us can get on a turf right now?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that we were always going to take next month off as a bit of a break and a breather, because regardless of how strange it was ending the season, it's still a full-on season. And as you can appreciate, usually with international athletes, we don't tend to get much of a break before we then are in full swing for the next part of our program. So first and foremost, we're still going to be taking that break. But Andrew, on the strength and conditioning point of view, has been fantastic. He's been adapting our program, whether that's, you know, home workout with body weights, or if people have access to weights or bands, he's adapting everything. He's so accessible. He's also been, although he doesn't enjoy it, he's been doing some of his videoing to show us that. And we're trying to persuade him to do a bit of weekly Zoom sessions to see if he'll get involved on that as well. Help everyone.
Your own little Joe Wicks.
Yeah, we're hoping it'll take off. But yeah, he's been brilliant, and I think for him as well, and also the tone from the whole of the management and support is to be able to enjoy what you're doing, so that and to be able just to do it within the parameters of what's possible, alongside with, you know, first and foremost, to be staying safe and staying healthy and supporting those around you, and understanding that, you know, we all love hockey, but at the end of the day, with everything that's going on, you know, that's not an absolute priority. Our kind of health and well-being is, which is also where Ross comes in on the psychology side of things. Like I said, and we're taking a little bit of a break now, but, you know, even with Hockey Wales and across on a wider point of view, across within the team and our management, everyone's checking in on people's mental health. We're ensuring that everyone's in a good space and catching up with people, because obviously there's a lot of changes that are going on. You know, even people's full-time employment might not be the same case. So we're checking in there. And then as we kind of ramp up with our more remote support, we're definitely looking into more of how can we strengthen our team culture? How can we improve our individual performances? So in terms of whether that's, you know, preparation for a game, for example, those kind of areas where, to be honest, they can be a little bit neglected or you know, crammed into a weekend session, and now this is a really time to take advantage of the fact that we can kind of pick that apart and go through the process properly.
Yeah, and like you say, like if you're only meeting maybe 2 days a month as a squad, like pitch time is then premium, and then I guess building all that other stuff, if you've got this window of opportunity, and it is an opportunity in a lot of ways to actually make those gains which you maybe wouldn't have done before. And I guess with everybody now having to do as we're doing now, like do stuff over the internet and make these kind of connections, that's only going to refine your processes when you have your pitch stuff and the other stuff. That's only going to surely make the whole product, as you guys playing the best hockey you can, better. So I think that's definitely a really exciting thing to be able to build and put all that together. What would you say then is next for Hockey Wales? Like, what what would you say is next for the program and for you as an athlete? Kind of what are the next kind of steps? What in terms of moving forwards?
Yes, so I mean, ideally, in terms of us for coming up, we've got Europeans next year. Obviously, with the announcement of the Olympics and the conversations around GB and home nations, I'm uncertain what that necessarily will look like. But obviously, we just carry on as normal until we're told otherwise. But that would be really exciting. That would be kind of my 5th or 6th Euros, which is quite a scary thought.
Wow.
And then also on top of that, with, like I alluded to, into the new FIH point system, we are hoping that therefore we can put ourselves in a position to continue to ramp up those test series so that we can then get involved with the World Cup qualifiers. And then on top of that, then there will be the World Cup after that, and obviously a Commonwealth Games. So the next couple of years, that contact time will very much be increased. I'm sure we'll be pretty sick of each other. Hopefully we'll be in that kind of position, which would be really, really positive. I think that's absolutely huge. And obviously the men have another round in terms of that A division side of things as well, and also are absolutely in a really good position to be in that World Cup place. There's a lot that could be potentially going on in the next couple of years for us on a senior level.
That's really cool. And so with everything that's then starting to ramp up and everything else with all those tournaments, what does then the support network look like around that? Because obviously that doesn't happen with just players turning up and getting and doing your training, everything else. Like there needs to be a big support network around that. Like what support do the players and do Hockey Wales need moving forwards to then be able to do that? Because I think that's one thing that, again, I think with what's happened recently is going to take into light in terms of what support networks need to be in place, not only from an international level, but from a club level as well. So what does that support network look like to you, do you think?
Well, I think continued support from clubs anyway, to be flexible wherever possible and to cater for international athletes, and also to continue to push that level. We're absolutely supportive of that system, and it helps us. We wouldn't be able to play appropriately without it. On the other side of things, we're all self-funded athletes, so financially we do have to pay for the pitch hire, the costs around our attendance to tournaments, and obviously we're very grateful we have support from Sport Wales, but that's not enough to cover those costs. And so we do look wider and look to the hockey community for support, like you guys provide at Sport 101, which is fantastic. And you can see how we can promote businesses where either that's through logos on our shirts or banners on our pitches, where we have our games televised and we have them streamed. Our last series was on S4C and BBC Sport Wales, so we do have that reach. And even when we play abroad, there's still the ability for us to watch online as well. But on top of that, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond the social media promotion, and also, how Hockey Wales can then create a relationship going forward. We've done some fantastic work with some schools in terms of being able to train with us and offer a little bit of insight into what a day-to-day looks like. But on a kind of more, corporate responsibility point of view and more the corporate world, athletes of our level have got fantastic transferable skills to the corporate world, whether that's resilience and understanding of teamwork, and also just the general competitive nature and character, I think can really add value. So whether that's on an individual basis where we share our stories and we provide that insight, or whether individuals come and watch us and be part of that day and that understanding, that can something that can be taken forward. I mean, and I know there's a lot of wellbeing initiatives to understand how to best support, on a mental health point of view and outside of that, and the importance of finding that work-life balance. And we've got a lot of information that we can support with that. So it's not only about, being supportive there, but also it's where we can also give back individually and as a team. And outside of that, I would say is also looking for people's investment in the sport. So, if you're unable to support us, financially, then actually, we would just love your engagement in the sport. And that's not just for Hockey Wales, but that's in general, pick up a stick and try the game. Turn on the TV if the pro league's on, or if you've got access to your local club, go down and watch a game. It's outside of just Welsh sport. It's just an engagement level there, and the more of us that watch, the more of us that get involved, the bigger our sport will be, and that'll be better for everybody.
Yeah, and I think you've really nailed it there in terms of support doesn't just come from financial sponsors or whatever. Actually, its support is getting down to support your club, to support when Wales are playing at Fire Gardens, like get down there. Like Hockey Wales and the girls in the office are doing such a fantastic job in terms of making the club side more kind of accessible and putting on festivals. I know which would have been running this summer, which unfortunately are going to be postponed, but things like that are only going to help you guys, knowing that there is that support network around you. Being interactive with the Hockey Wales social media and stuff is only going to help you guys. But like I say, I think it's a two-way thing in terms of like giving that support back as well. And there's some really good opportunities to work with the athletes and they can then give that support back to the guys that are supporting them. And I think that's so important, and you guys understand the importance of the two-way street thing. And I think that's really cool. It's cool to see and stuff. So have you got any other kind of pieces of advice for players, or any way that you would like the club way to go? Any kind of final thoughts?
I would probably just say on a player point of view, for those that we're all kind of a bit trapped inside, hockey family has a lot of badges. We do love the sport, and I can appreciate the frustration that's probably happening. And I think the key thing really is to do what you enjoy. So whether that's picking up, a few home workouts, whether that's, check out a little bit of, on our social media and our Hockey Wales social media and Hockey Cymru Women in terms of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis as a bit of inspiration on a strength and conditioning point of view. But also it's probably a good time to think about those areas that you could make those small gains. And we talked about the psychology side of things and whether you've got access to any video or there's a lot of online, there's your YouTube channels, there's information that people are sharing, there's coaching areas that people can look into as additional side of things. So I think first and foremost, do things you enjoy, get your friends involved, challenge each other, because that's also the part of it, the social, the competitive side that we're all missing. And the hockey family is still there. It's just we've moved online. So I think it's always about reaching out. There's people there to answer your questions. There's people there to provide those solutions. So I think don't feel like you're isolated and by yourself, really.
Oh, thank you so much for your time. Second time round.
No,
Twice the fun.
Yeah, I hope
so. No, it definitely was. Thank you so much for coming on. There was some amazing nuggets of information out for everybody watching and listening. Thank you very much, and good luck with lockdown, but also good luck in terms of the preparation for when we can eventually get back on the pitch.
Cheers, Mike. Thanks very much.
See you later. Bye.
See you later. Bye.